That's why, honest and true, that when you see reports where it says that there were practically no Japanese prisoners of war taken, that was partly because they were that fanatical. And even when there was 100 people around, when they would try something, and boy, they would just be blown to pieces.
Yeah.
And then, okay, on Guam, this I saw once. Caves. These were not dug caves. These were caves just from the ocean action of way back. Civilians and Japanese soldiers, you could hardly tell a difference sometimes. They would be in there. We would find out that they were in there, and we would bring up a Japanese interpreter with a bullhorn kind of thing and shout into the cave there, come on out, and everything else there, and civilians won't be harmed, and the Japanese will be given good treatment, so on and so forth. They would come out, and everybody would come out in the front in a group, and then one of the front guys, bare to the waist, would fall on his hands and knees, and he would have had a machine gun strapped to his back. You couldn't see while they came out. And he'd be saying, here's 800 of us, and there's 15 of them. And they would come out, and one guy would have a machine gun strapped to his back. He'd fall to his hands and knees, and the guy behind him would start firing. And you can imagine how long they lasted. The civilians and all would just be shattered with gunfire. And it was just crazy. I've never heard. It'd be interesting even today to find out what was that the Japanese taught their people that made them do that.
From what I've read of Japanese culture, suicide was not at all taboo.
I guess so.
It was a legitimate way out. They figured if they could take a few out with them.
Those Japanese on Guam, they were a higher trained people that we'd ever seen on, let's say, NOE time or something, or even had heard about. We hadn't heard about people like that. We heard about some of that stuff on Guadalcanal, but that was early. Or on our side, it was the fact that if somebody captured one of them and you didn't have any way of taking them to the rear to something to question them, or what are you going to do? Put who the hell's got handcuffs? You don't tie them. Well, they were allowed to escape, and then 50 guys just plain blasted his head off. Just don't take prisoners when they are like that.